Howdy, I'm Jason, and today on AutoEdits, I'm gonna give you a very straightforward video on the 5 most unsung items that you can upgrade on your Jeep that will give you a super strong and reliable build. I got a couple years on this. Let me bring you in and show you what I've learned. Plus, a couple of you guys have asked, I'll give you a damage report from the Trail de Cima. I love the fact that you guys are watching that series. I'll give you the damage report and I'll show you and I'll explain how we fixed that rear differential for those of you who watched. Now I'm probably going to end up talking about more than 5 things when it comes to the buildup of this Jeep and the things that I've really come to rely on and appreciate. But when I made a list, these are the first 5 things that just came to mind. So that's why I'm going to concentrate on those first. And first up would be the MetalCloak 3.5-inch Gamechanger suspension. Now, I'm not saying that that suspension is what you should get. I got it and have been extremely happy. So my point is pick good parts. That's going to be the overlying theme of all of these items. You'll find that they are just top tier parts. So get good suspension. Get a good, like, tried and true company and kit. Don't go third rate, got a deal on some weird off-brand stuff. Just don't do it. You're gonna want something like what I liked about the MetalCloak stuff. I've had this stuff on this Jeep for 2 years now, and I've not had a single issue with the suspension. The joints, the bushings, all of these things have been top notch, and that's why you get the good stuff the first time. And don't go for huge lift numbers. Don't go for 6-inch lift right away if you're not gonna be doing rock bouncing or whatever. Keep it as low, this is my philosophy, keep it as low as possible. Keep your center of gravity low. It'll drive down the freeway better. It's just a better handling vehicle. So I have the 3.5 and it has been served me pretty darn good. After that is body armor. Now that has proven to be, as I've gotten more and more advanced in my off-roading, it has proven to be way more important, which makes perfect sense. The first few times I went wheeling, I went to Death Valley and, you know, bumped the frame here and there, did little things like that. It was no big deal, but the more advanced you get, like running the Rubicon, boy, it's just became this mandatory thing, and it just became something that gave you peace of mind as you started smashing your Jeep into things. Now, you'll notice along the rockers here, I've really just leaned on these things big time. I mean, there are gouges I mean, that's huge. That's one incident right there. And there's that times 50 just on this rocker. The other rocker, the under skids have proven, now I'm lumping armor as one big thing. Now you guys have noticed over the years on this build, this Jeep is almost fully what they call MetalCloak. I have embraced the MetalCloak company. They've really embraced me, and I've loved running trails with them when I did the Rubicon. I'll be doing the Rubicon again this year. I'm actually going to Death Valley soon with them, so I really have kind of liked that whole community thing that they've fostered. So that's just the parts I have on here. Again, I'm not gonna say you need to get this stuff. I'm gonna recommend it. I have experience with it, but this is not that. This video is not that. These are the items that I'm trying to tell you that have become important to any Jeep builder. In your budget, get these items if you wanna do these things. Pinto likes body armor, don't you? Actually, Pinto likes butt rubs. You little weirdo. Go get him. Go get your ball. You know you're doing good when you drive straight into something like that. You can see the damage here. I mean, it is taking a beating. I have just absolutely smashed the bottom of this Jeep on stuff. And it seems happy. Now you can see here that I smashed my tie rod into some rocks pretty hardcore. That's good time. And my diff, you can see there's quite a bit of damage to the bottom of the diff cover. I'll probably look to replace that here soon. So body armor, Under Armour, body armor, rocker for sure. Rockers, gotta have rocker armor right here. It's an important item, big time, and you forget about that stuff until you're in a spot where you're like, whew, I'm glad I had that. Now this is probably the greatest unsung hero of this entire Jeep build. Now that's not because it's the most important, it's just the one that I have forgotten to mention in so many videos, like after the Rubicon and things like that, because you put them in and you forget they're there. And that's how good this part is. This is my tomwoods drive shafts. These are 1350 joints, and what I want to point out is this amount of gashing and scratches and dents in this thing are me trying to break it and it not breaking and standing up to everything I've done to it on the trail. And it's so good that I keep forgetting to mention it in videos about how good it is because it keeps not breaking. And that is a huge testament to this piece right here. You want to put, and that's when I put this piece in, I said that very thing. You want to put them in and forget about them. Other than the time when you want to lube them, like every oil change or so, you know, grease the fittings and take care of them. Other than that, you forget about them. So this right here, major hero to this Jeep build. So here's another testament to the strength and the reason why you get top tier parts the first time on your Jeep build is that when I injured this thing, the rear differential on Milt's Mile in Sand Hollow, the thing that actually kept the rear differential from bending all the way up into the bottom of the Jeep was the fact that this joint right here, when the differential housing actually twisted on the rear tubes here. So I got enough traction and a little bit too much power, obviously. And so I was climbing a hill and it literally just twisted this thing. It broke the plug welds on the rear differential, and I'll show you the clip where it actually happened. Check this out. I literally unbolted this, drove this thing on the front drive shaft back into town. The guys at Dixie fixed this thing. I'll tell you how in a minute. And I was able to bolt this drive shaft. There's nothing changed here. So once I drove this thing back to Dixie four-wheel drive, they luckily had a technician, Kyle, he's the real MVP here, who had seen this a time or two before. Now on these Dana 44 housings, they plug weld these things and that's it. They just pressure fit the tubes into the differential housing and they plug weld it and they send it out the door. Now, it wasn't designed to run 37s and tall gears and do crazy things, and I've got a bunch of armor that makes this thing a little bit heavier. That's the one downside to that. So you get that traction, you climb, and it literally just twisted. So this nose of this thing was sticking straight up here with this still attached. And that was what was so cool about having this piece right here being so beefy. So pulled this off, drove it in. No damage happened here. This thing was so strong that it kept this from going farther even. So it was as good as it could have got. And then I got lucky. Dixie 4x4 had a guy, Kyle, who knew a trick. Here's a trick. He chained the snout of this thing down to a metal plate on the floor in the shop. Then he put the Jeep on a lift and used a forklift to lift the rear axle tubes and twist this thing. Since this thing was chained to the floor, it just kind of tweaked this thing all the way back down into position, and then he perimeter welded this. We bolted the drive shaft back in, no changes. I put a little grease in it, that was it. And I ran the rest of the trip and have been running ever since. So again, huge, get good components. I like the Tom Woods drive shafts. So thank you, Tom Wood and Sean, you guys rule. Now, another thing that gets overlooked when people tend to upgrade their Jeeps, it's easy to go for all the whiz-bang stuff, big tires, fancy wheels, armor, lift, all that stuff. But the brakes, do not overlook a brake upgrade. Once you add all of the biggest thing, once you add all this weight, but the biggest thing that you add that changes the stopping dynamics of your vehicle are big tires. This creates a lot of unsprung weight on the vehicle and rolling mass and changes a bunch of the driving dynamics. And these factory brakes, you can't expect them they weren't designed for that. They were designed for, this vehicle was designed to run 32s. So upgrade your brakes. Now as you guys have to know by this point on this channel, I have been running the PowerStop Z36 brake pads and cross-drilled and slotted rotors on this thing, and I have been thrilled. Hey buddy, I'll play soccer with you in a minute. So that is the best. I think they retail right now for 370 bucks. That is the best 370 bucks you are gonna spend on your Jeep once you start adding these things to it. If you just budget that in, if you're gonna put tires on, upgrade your brakes. I have been thrilled. I put these brakes on, okay. I put these brakes on 2 years ago now. That single upgrade has changed the way I feel about driving this thing. It made it from, oh my goodness, to, oh, this is how it should stop. And that's with adding all of this to it. And there was even a time after I wounded the rear differential and I couldn't really drive and use the engine to keep me going slow down this one gnarly hill. We had me strapped to the mighty Suburban, and thanks David for that. And that was for peace of mind, but I came down a gnarly hill with brakes alone and had tons of confidence in the pedal and what the Jeep was gonna do down it. So I actually felt pretty good. It was scary, but it was fine. So the brakes, another one of those things that you kind of tend to do and then forget about them. I'm glad because I like the cross-drilled and slotted rotors. That was kind of cool. Again, brakes, big one, big. Something that gets overlooked. I put them on. You even forget about it sometimes because it just drives so normal. So PowerStop brake upgrade. Major thumbs up. I want to tell them about something else. Oh, hang on a second, guys. All right, so of course, the worn winch. Now, this was after the Flowmaster muffler I threw on here. The worn winch was the very first actual off-roading upgrade I did to this thing. And for years, it was literally for peace of mind and then to rescue a few people. So on Pritchett Canyon in Moab is where I ended up using it a lot and becoming really thankful for having a high quality winch. We had a lot of guys with winches and a lot of winching, and we had one winch fail. Guess which brand it wasn't? It wasn't a Warn, it was some other brand, and it failed. So, what does that tell you again? Get the good stuff first, if you can, seriously. Now, as you guys remember, a few of you guys watched, not many people watched that video of when I actually replaced the hook and the rope from when I actually broke this thing on Pritchett Canyon. Now, again, I want to reiterate that I broke it. It didn't fail. I wasn't winching up something and failed. It was, this thing was attached to a hook on an anchor point on the ground, and I drove over it and I drove past it. And it actually, thank goodness, the rope broke when it did, when everything failed, because it could have caused a lot of other damage. So it actually, everything went as good, again, as possible. So this is the Xeon 10S winch from Warn, and it has been fantastic. I have the stock, the 3/8 inch Spydura rope on this thing, and then now I have the Warn Epic hook on there. So that right there, again, first upgrade, real upgrade I did to the Jeep, and has now proven itself as one of the most important safety or recovery options. Now, you guys called me out on my truck after that Miller Jeep Trail video, so I am looking to Warn winch the truck. So stay tuned for that upgrade as well. And those are the 5 main things. Now, another highlight up here, as you guys remember, I upgraded and I have jwspeaker lights up here, but you know what still is the standout light? These are remarkable, don't get me wrong. I still don't feel like I need a light bar yet because these things are great, but you know the lights that are still standouts? Not the add-ons here, it's the fog lights. These things are remarkable for the close-up front fill of your Jeep when you're in a nighttime situation, and they don't blind anybody else. These right here, absolute home run. Get these, put these on your vehicle. I don't care what they are. I'm gonna put these on the truck because they're that good. So standout little feature right there, the jwspeaker fog lights. They're pretty remarkable little unit. So there you have it. Those are the components that I have really learned to appreciate on this build right here. I hope that helps some of you out there. hone in on some of the things I get asked a lot on. What are the things, I just got a Jeep, what should I do? Those are the things that will really help you in the long run. A lot of times it seems like, oh gosh, this is an expensive component. It's worth it if you are actually going to put yourself out into situations where you are going to rely on that stuff for your own safety or other people's safety. So get out there, tinker on your Jeep, enjoy what you're doing, and until next time, enjoy your drive. Pinto, let's play.